This question says there are 100 tourists. Each of them traveled by one or more of the following means of transportation as shown in the Venn diagram below. This is the Venn diagram. Total number of tourists is 100. Some traveled by car, some traveled by bus, and some traveled by train. These are the three different types of transportation system or means of transport. So the question says if 52 people traveled by bus and 35 by train, find the Roman 1 the value of U, V, and W. And the question number B, we have to find the number of tourists who traveled by at least two means of transportation. So let me attempt to answer that question now. Solution to that, if I go back to the Venn diagram again, I have those that traveled by car. This is the cycle. Some traveled by car and bus, they are 18. Some travel by all the three means, there are 5 from this Venn diagram. Those that traveled by car and train only, there are 6. Those that traveled by bus and train only, there are 12. And those cab and bus only, there are 18. I have W to be those that traveled by car only, U to be those that traveled by bus only, and V to be those that traveled by train only. But all this, if I add them all, it gives me 100 because it's 100 tourists. And the question says each and every one of them traveled by one of the following three means. So nobody is outside these three cycles. So let me do that. But the question says 52 people traveled by bus. This is the cycle for bus. 52 of them traveled by bus. So which means everything inside this very cycle for bus, if I add everything inside, it must give me 52 because it says 52 traveled by bus. So total of everything inside this cycle must be 52. So let me do that so that it will enable me to get my U, because the very first question we asked to find the U, V, and W. So let me start with U. So U, that is those that traveled by bus only, plus 18 plus 5 plus 12, the result must be 52. So I continue simplifying this. I'm now going to have U to be equals to these three values shifted to the right hand side. I will now have 52 minus 18 minus 5 minus 12, and subtracting these three values from 52 gives U as 17. So the value of U is now 17. Let me write it in bracket. So those that traveled by bus only is now 17. So I have obtained U. So let me move. Still in the question says 35 traveled by train, which means this cycle for train, if I add everything inside this very cycle, it must give me 35. So I can use that to get this V. Let me do that. So I have V plus 6 plus 5 plus 12. The result must be equals to 35 because the question says 35 traveled by train. So I continue simplifying this so that I will get my V. So V will now be equals to 35 subtract 6 subtract 5 and subtract 12. So result after subtracting these three values from 35 gives V as 12. So those that traveled by train only, they are now 12 in number. So what remains is W. The questions didn't give us those that traveled by car. They only give us those that traveled by bus and traveled by train. But these values U and V are now obtained. So if I have U and V, the only missing value is W. So I can add all the three cycles, and I can now set they are equals to 100, because that gives me the total number of tourists. So everything added in the three cycles and equate it to 100, that will leave me get my W. So let me do that. So I'm going to have W plus 18, this 18 plus U, but U is now 17, so plus 17 plus 12, this 12 plus 12, that is V, plus 6, this very 6, plus the 5, then the answer must be equals to 100. I'm totaling each and every person in this Venn diagram to get 100. So I move, my W is now going to be 100, subtract all those values. I shifted all those values to the right hand side, so that it becomes minus. So after subtracting 18, 17, 12, 12, 6 and 5 from 100, W is going to be 30. So W is now 30. That is those that traveled by car only. So question number A has been answered. So I move to question number B. Number B, we asked to find the number of tourists who traveled by at least 2 means. At least 2 means either 2 means or 3 means. We only have maximum of 3 different transportation system here. So we are interested in those that traveled by at least 2 means. At least mean either that 2 or above. So we consider still those that traveled by 3 different means of transportation system. So those that traveled by at least 2 means will now be those that traveled by car and bus, they are 18. Those that traveled by all the 3, they are 5. Those that traveled by car and the train, they are 6. Those that traveled by bus and the train, they are 12. So I'm going to add those 4 values, 18 plus 12 plus 6 plus 5, and adding this correctly give answer 41. So the number of tourists that travel by at least 2 means of transportation system, they are 41 in number. So question B has also been answered. So to that I finish answering this question. What I'll just give you now is the mark distribution for this according to the official Neco marking scheme. This is the mark distribution. The very first mark is for getting that equation in attempt to get U. That is equation for bus. So putting that equation correctly, trying to solve for U, you have method 1 mark, and getting U at 17, you have accuracy 1 mark. And an attempt to get V, that is using the cycle for train, adding everything equals to 35, you have method 1 mark there also. And solving that to get V exactly equals to 12, you have the accuracy 1 mark. And next mark is an attempt to get W, putting everything or adding everything equate to 100, so forming that very equation equals to 100. In your attempt to get W, you have method 1 mark, and getting W as 30 exactly, you have the accuracy 1 mark. Next is adding those number of tourists that travel by at least 2 means. Adding 18, 12, 6 and 5, you have method 1 mark, and getting your answer as 41 exactly, you have the accuracy 1 mark. So in total this question has 8 good marks.